Morning, guys. This is Joe East here. I'm going to do this little clip sitting down. I don't normally do these things sitting down. I prefer standing, but it's morning. I think on the subject of spirituality and religion, we're seeing a transformation going on throughout the world. It seems like a lot of us are either going through or sensing similar things, and it's not just as perhaps the 1960s, where it's like localized in California and various places. It's like around the world, we're all getting insights of similar themes um, throughout the world. You see blog posts and people just say stuff, and then there's like a band of brothers or a spiritual family sort of movement that we see happening right now in those of us who try to tune into the spirit world if we can, as we can, right? So let's throw a few ideas out there. I think some of you who's in the similar what I call spiritual families, and it's not around ideology or Christianity or um, belief in God or not. It's like it's below the neck. It's nothing to do with the thoughts. It's everything to do with embodied movement through the world, how you experience the world. Um, it's something different, very much different than the past, say, 2,000 years of ideology we've been doing. So, say in the past 2,000 years, Christianity has ascended, becoming quite dominant, and of course Islam has had its own dominance, ascendancy, and it's still probably the two most powerful religions in the world is Christianity and Islam. Christianity probably has the upper hand as far as force and power and influence. Islam uh, has a very powerful influence among those who like extreme order and everything already figured out. Whereas Christianity is more of a portable type of ideology where it can morph into different types of personalities, different types of people, different types of settings, places, etc. It's a very morphic, fluid sort of religious ideology where it can grow organically, I guess is the way to say it, or maybe perhaps Darwinian. But if you look at what happened when Jesus and their disciples were on the earth about 2,000 years ago, what happened was the Roman civilization and the Greek civilization at the time were becoming diabolical, perverted, and it was, you know, falling apart, and it had run its course, and then it was in a sense of degradation, or as we would call degeneration or degenerate, where things get too old and they don't die fast enough, and they're supposed to be dead, but they're like zombies, right? So the civilizational arc has run its course. And that's what we're seeing in Christianity right now, is that it has run its course and we're reaching the end of Christianity. Now, that doesn't mean it's the end of Christ or the end of our spirituality that we have inherited from Christianity. Great inheritance, perhaps very profound, the scripture, the Gospels, very profound, but it seems like it's run its course organizationally with the churches and the peoples and the doctrines, the ideologies. It's like something new is coming on the horizon. Kind of sort of what happened when Jesus and their disciples were at the end of the Roman and Greek degradation of that civilization. What happened was they isolated themselves slightly from the civilization in their heart and to focus on the inner light and build new chains of spirituality among this band of brothers, apostles, and disciples. And that new chain of spiritual bonds grew and then, spread out and took over the world, right? They basically had to separate themselves from the current civilizational degradation and declinations and perversities and satanic stuff, to where the old Roman and Greek religions became demons, right? Or became our devils, Jupiter and all the Roman gods kind of sort of morphed into our Christian version of Satan, Ahriman, or Lucifer, whatever type of name tag we give to him based on our tradition. So the church kind of started something new by separating itself from that particular civilization, focusing on the inner light of the 12 disciples and the 12 apostles and disciples, starting that core kernel that they grew from that particular kernel. So what's going on now is the exact same thing that happened when Jesus and his disciples were walking on earth. Now, on the Christian the Christian civilization. I don't want to say Christianity has itself become irrelevant or broken up. But I'm saying the Christian civilization structure, doctrinal, everything that we associate with structure, formality, and inheritance is breaking down right now. All churches are sick to the core. Even those who have tried to separate themselves from the so-called world basically have become a degenerate pile of hatred and paranoia and all this other stuff you see at weird fundamentalists that have tried to separate themselves from the world. But what has to happen is not separate yourself from the world like a cult, like the Jim Jones cult or some of the cults some of us have been part of in the past that were quite destructive to our spiritual growth, actually. So you need to separate yourself from the mainstream to the point where you can spiritually grow on an individual level, not on an organizational level. Oh, we got this big movement coming on, and it's like you have to grow it on this small band of brothers, and the closest movement, as it were, is somebody you would know personally, very personally. So this can't be a movement of a crowd of people. It has to be someone you know that you can connect with on a visceral level. So that's where it's headed now. The inner light, again, as Jesus and his disciples did. It was very personal relationships. This was not a broadcast, say it, as it were. But nowadays, with the internet technologies, things are slightly changing a bit, where we can probably know people a little bit different than what happened 2,000 years ago. So we might have more of an interaction on a global scale with people we might kind of sort of know based on the technological connections we're making now, which would enrich, say, the spiritual connection. So like I said, the past 2,000 years, they're degenerating and it's gone away. A Christian civilization, should I say, is fallen. It's gone. All the churches are a complete freaking mess. And so the answer to that is, like I said, is the inner light. Focus on your inner light. And as we all focus on this inner light, something new will emerge. Yeah, we're going to do what Jesus Christ and his disciples did with the Judaic religion, where you use some of that original insight that the Mosaic law had. And, in the new religion kind of uses that as part of its base. And it also used Platonic Greek philosophy of Plato. Plato is very big in Christianity, and Aristotle. So the two big Greek influences in Christianity is Plato and Aristotle. So in the same way, the next age where we morph into a new spirituality focusing on our inner light, Christianity is going to be an extremely powerful base of what went on. In some cases, Islam too, which is a very beautiful religion also for what it does and for the type of person it's focused on, the warm climates in the desert, those types. Whereas Christianity is more morphic and worldwide and universal, right? So the next age will be something like that. So we have to focus on our inner light for the next few decades. Perhaps maybe come faster, who knows? But next, say, decade or so, where this will emerge from us, a band of brothers and sisters, focusing on the inner lights, where we can transform the next age as Jesus Christ and his disciples actually transformed the previous age. So that's where we're headed. Let's see. Yeah, the final topic is spiritual family. So how do you find people like this that might be part of the next age, or giving birth to this next age? So my suggestion, and these are suggestions, those of us who have been watching this for a few decades can kind of sort of see patterns, but here's a suggestion. You're going to meet people out there, maybe completely different from you, different ideologies, different family backgrounds, perhaps different nationalities, different religions also. Watch out for, don't watch out, but watch for if you're a Christian, watch for those who come from the Islam faith and the Buddhist faith and the Hindu faiths that have similar spiritual families. Again, this is not ideology of the head. It's kind of like below the neck. You're feeling the same insights. You're seeing similar patterns of where the world's headed. You're seeing insights, patterns, flashes of intuition, kind of similar. Again, not on the ideology. We don't want to focus on doctrine or stuff like that. That's going to mess us all up if we focus on the brain or the logic or the logos. We need to focus below the neck on this, the soul level. So you're going to be able to connect with these guys on a more soul level. Again, Christians, Jews, Islamic people, Buddhists, Hindus, and strangely enough, some atheists who have a sense of meaning, who are not strictly materialistic, who don't see the world in terms of purely physical objects, right? Those types. So you're going to see this morphing of spiritual families in the next, say, decade or so. Hopefully, we all would like things to happen faster, but I'm feeling this on perhaps the next decade. We're going to start morphing these spiritual families, focusing on our inner light, and then giving birth to a new age, new civilization in the ashes or in the degradation of the Christian civilization that has lasted for about 2,000 years. So we can't forget what we learned in Christianity, the Christ consciousness, the beautiful Holy Spirit, the awesome Trinity. But it's come to the end, and so we have to transform our being into the next age, using what we've learned, giving, paying homage to those who went before us, like the Christian did to the Judaic religions, and of course Plato and Aristotle. So we must always remember the core of where we came from as we give birth to this new age. Give respect to these the base religions that have sustained us throughout these 2,000 or so years, and cultivated our families, our civilizations, our countries, our heritage, right? Civilization itself, So we must give respect to the past, but as we give respect to the past, we must understand it's done, and the next age is kind of giving birth right now. We kind of felt it in the 1960s. I wasn't around in the 1960s, of course, but you can kind of tell people in the 60s were feeling that kind of birth process starting, and then it was suppressed with materialistic ideologies. The government suppressed the spiritual revival of the 60s. Maybe for good reason, maybe not. Maybe the drug culture was a bit extreme. Maybe not. Who knows? But it seems like now is something that can't be stopped. Can't be stopped by worldly means. It seems like something that's happening right now that we can all kind of sort of, those of us in the same spiritual families, we sense this coming. So anyway, I've gone almost 15 minutes, so let me just close this out. Just put some thoughts out there. We will change the world, and this is going to be part of that process. Stay patient, stay good, keep your heart clean. Go out there and find people in your spiritual families. Find bands of brothers and sisters out there with the same focus on the inner light, and we should be fine. There'll be birth pains, and kids always bring vulnerabilities. We have to protect the children as we give birth to this new thing. But we're going to be the next age of fathers of whatever this new age is coming upon us, that the gods have kind of given to us as a gift in this particular age. Okay, there you go for the insight of the day for those of you who kind of sort of see things in a similar light. So you guys stay safe. Take care out there. Joe East here. Goodbye.